Let me ask you something. What if the root of your depression, that feeling you just can't shake, isn't actually in your head, but in your gut? It's a huge question, and in this explainer, we're going to dive into the incredible science that says the answer is a resounding yes.
You know, if you've ever felt completely stuck, like you're doing everything right, the therapy, maybe even the medication, but that cloud of anxiety or depression just refuses to lift, you are definitely not alone. But what if we've been looking for the solution in the wrong place entirely?
Think about that phrase, a gut feeling, or when you say you have butterflies in your stomach. It turns out that's not just some poetic metaphor. That's a real biological signal coming from a part of your body that is way, way more intelligent than we ever gave it credit for.
Okay, so to really get what's going on, we need to properly introduce you to this incredible piece of your own anatomy. Let's meet your second brain.
For the longest time, we treated the brain like this isolated castle on a hill, totally separate from the rest of the body. But that's just wrong. The new model, the gut-brain axis, shows us that our brain and our gut are locked in a constant, 24/7 conversation. This completely flips the script. Our mood isn't just a psychological thing, it's a whole-body biological system.
And just to give you an idea of the scale we're talking about here, 100 million. Let that sink in. That's how many neurons are lining your digestive tract. To put that in perspective, that is more neurons than you'd find in the entire spinal cord of a cat or a dog. This isn't just a digestive tube, it's a genuine processing center. It's a powerhouse.
Officially, this powerhouse is called the enteric nervous system, or ENS for short. And you're right, it's not writing poetry or doing calculus down there. But what it is doing every single second of the day is feeding a constant stream of information and data right up to the brain in your skull. It is, quite literally, our body's second brain.
So if the gut is our second brain, who's the villain in this story? Well, it's the modern Western diet. All that high-sugar, ultra-processed stuff, it's not just bad for your waistline. It acts like a biological hazard. It creates inflammation in your second brain, which then starts sending out these frantic red alert signals that your main brain often misinterprets as anxiety and depression.
All right, now we're getting to what is, for many people, the single most shocking piece of this entire puzzle. This one is a real game changer. So, quick question for you. If I asked you to point to where serotonin, the famous happy chemical that's so crucial for our mood, is produced in your body, where would you point? Come on, be honest. Most of us would point right at our head, right? At our brain. Well, you'd be about 90% wrong, and this chart just says it all. A staggering 90%, maybe even up to 95% of your body's total serotonin is manufactured right inside your gut. It's produced by special cells and even by certain types of gut bacteria. Your gut isn't just a factory, it's your primary serotonin factory.
And that leads to the most important takeaway here. If your gut microbiome is unhealthy, if it's toxic, your serotonin production line just tanks. You end up with a chemical shortage at the source. And this is why for some people, treatments like SSRIs can feel like putting a Band-Aid on a bullet wound. They're trying to better manage the little serotonin that's left, but they can't fix a factory that's basically shut down.
So how does all this distress, all this bad news, actually get from the gut up to the brain? Well, it travels along a kind of communication superhighway that connects the two. I love this analogy. Think of it like a little soap opera playing out inside your body. The brain is the cocky chief of surgery who thinks he's running the whole show. But the gut is the head of logistics. It's the one who actually controls all the supplies and knows what's really going on. And the vagus nerve, that's the digital highway, the direct phone line connecting them both.
So, when there's chaos in logistics, when your gut is inflamed and unhappy, it starts sending these panicked messages, this false data, straight up that highway. The brain gets these frantic signals, looks around, sees no actual danger in the outside world, and interprets them as a psychological threat. And that is what can trigger that feeling of free-floating, generalized anxiety.
This all leads to an incredibly powerful way to reframe this whole experience. You could be sitting safely on your couch in your own home, but your brain is in full-on fight-or-flight mode because of the bad intel it's getting from your gut. It's not a flaw in your character, it's a biological communication error.
Okay, so we've laid out the problem pretty clearly. Now for the good part. Let's talk about the solution. How do we fix this communication error? How do we start the cleanup?
One of the most exciting frontiers in this whole field is something called psychobiotics.
These are specific, targeted strains of good bacteria that have been clinically shown to produce calming chemicals, like GABA, right there inside your gut. It's like having your own internal pharmacy that's sending, hey, everything's cool signals to your brain.
And the plan to get these psychobiotics and all their friends to set up shop and thrive can be broken down into a pretty simple 3-step protocol. First, you've got to stop the leaky gut and heal the barrier. Second, remember that diversity is your greatest strength. And third, you need to refill your gut with the good guys.
So what does this look like in real life? Well, you can start sealing that gut barrier with more fiber, things like bone broth and fermented foods. Then, here's a challenge for you. Aim to eat over 30 different types of plants every single week. Most of us are stuck at 10 or 15. Finally, start adding in probiotic powerhouses like kefir, kimchi, and sauerkraut. And here's the absolute best part. Studies show our gut can start to change for the better in as little as 24 to 72 hours after we make these kinds of shifts. Your body wants to heal and it responds fast.
So let's just do a quick recap of the absolute biggest takeaways. Number 1, your gut is your second brain. Period. Number 2, a wild 90% of your serotonin is made there. Number 3, that vagus nerve can be a highway for false anxiety signals coming from an inflamed gut. And number 4, a diverse, plant-rich diet isn't just a nice-to-have, it's one of the most powerful keys you hold to resetting your own mental health.
So I want to leave you with this final thought, which is really the central question of this whole explainer. When you're struggling, is it truly a flaw in your character, or could it just be a flaw in your fermentation? The answer might change everything.